How wide open do you feel this year's Derby is?
It is completely wide open with the caveat if Ted Noffey stays healthy and gets better, then he's probably going to win it. But we've seen this road how many times? Can the 2-year-old juvenile hold it together to the 3-year-old Kentucky Derby? Not often. It's happened twice. It's not impossible, but it's tough to do. And like you said, when you get past Ted Noffey, I'm not sitting here and saying these horses are bad because I don't really think that's it. It's just we just haven't seen anybody really develop to his level yet.
This is VSiN at the Track. Now here's your hosts, Mike Somich and Aaron Halterman.
Welcome in here, VSiN at the Track. Hi, I'm Mike Somich. He is Aaron Halterman, and we have officially turned the page to 2026. Every horse is a year older, and with that, the focus going to be again on the 3-year-old crop as we head toward the first Saturday in May in the Run for the Roses. Mr. Halterman, Happy New Year. Welcome back in to VSiN at the Track. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, doing great. Happy New Year to you as well. It's late to say it. January 8th, too late, but we haven't had a show, so I'll give you a pass on that one. I'm ready for 2026. I was so ready for the holidays to be over. When you're into horse racing, you're into a very regimented schedule. And when it's like Christmas time, and it's like your schedule gets thrown off. So I'm happy to be back.
I don't want to hear any complaints out of you. You do not have a child. When you have a child,
Fair.
Let me tell you, the Christmas break is a lot more contentious than it is for someone who does not have one, doesn't have to deal with the whole travel part of it, the in-laws, your own family, everything going on, the presents being shipped everywhere. Happy the holidays are over. It's funny, I was watching a video where, like, as a child, you were so excited for Christmas, and you got the Christmas magic and all of that jazz, the holiday magic if you celebrate something besides Christmas. And as an adult, you're just like, all right, can we get this over with? like I'm trying to make it as magical as possible for my kid, but for me, it's like, let's just move along. Let's get him back in school. Let's get some regularly scheduled daily programming back in our lives.
I was getting very angry at you until you mentioned it because I don't have a child. I was like, oh, that's fair. That's totally fair because it sounds awful for an adult when you have to juggle all the different families. And listen, you got to travel big time to whichever family you're going to go to. So, yes, okay, you win, Mike. You probably had a more stressful couple of weeks than I did.
We did not have a family vacation that was not to see family last year. My wife ran the numbers on how much we spent. Let's just say I sent an email saying, hey, you're coming to visit us this year. Like we have done our work. We put in the work last year. You guys are coming to visit us this year because I've got work to put in here on the horse racing side, and we have got a loaded show here because guess what? We get to talk about this 3-year-old crop, one that I think is the most wide open since Mage's year. This is a situation where, and again, that year you had Forte, ended up not running in the Derby. You've got Ted Noffey. After that, I mean... Let's see what happens. And Mage came out of nowhere, able to win the Derby that year. We'll see what happens here with this specific 3-year-old crop. On the show today, we'll talk about those preps that we saw, as well as an allowance last weekend, just so we can get through that there. We got to talk about the Pasco Stakes, which we were going to preview, but now cannot preview because only one horse entered. A shame the horse couldn't just get the free workout, get the money, but they end up not running the race because it does not fill, something you'll see in horse racing when you're not getting enough horses in the gate. We'll discuss that. And then we've got race previews here from Santa Anita on Saturday. We're going to talk a little bit Gulfstream Park on Saturday and close it out with the Las Cienegas on Sunday from Santa Anita, going 6.5 down the hill. Of course, as always, got some best bets from both Aaron and I. He's headed to Gulfstream. I'm headed to Santa Anita, so stick around for the end of the show for that. Before we jump into the latest news, we do have some news of our own here. We're splitting off from at VSiN Live. If you're over on YouTube and you want to find VSiN at the Track, make sure you go to at VSiN at the Track, our own channel there. We're going to have updates going out consistently, not just the show every Thursday, but also additional clips going out from different shows in the past, as well as specific setups and race previews. So make sure you subscribe over there, VSiN at the Track. Now, Aaron, with that said, let's jump into this 3-year-old crop. First off, do you agree with my original assessment? We had the Racing Dudes Fantasy Draft. 63-year-olds get drafted. Really, after the top 3, I felt like it's almost a crapshoot in a way. How wide open do you feel this year's Derby is?
It is completely wide open with the caveat if Ted Noffey stays healthy and gets better, then he's probably going to win it. But we've seen this road how many times? Can the 2-year-old juvenile hold it together to the 3-year-old Kentucky Derby? not often. It's happened twice. It's not impossible, but it's tough to do. And like you said, when you get past Ted Noffey, I'm not sitting here and saying these horses are bad, because I don't really think that's it. It's just we just haven't seen anybody really develop to his level yet. And it becomes a wide open mess. We drafted 63-year-olds, like you mentioned, on December 29th. And I think after even the top two, because Paladin was number 2 drafted, and that was a horse that won the rims, and he's trained by Chad Brown. He looks like a horse that's going to be pretty good. The other 58, I think they're interchangeable. I really do. I just think it's just kind of a little bit of a mess. I do think last weekend, kind of almost surprisingly to me, because the first Saturday in January, I usually don't take just all that serious. But in a crop like this, kind of every race you have to take serious because you're just looking for something. We didn't see just terrible performances last week, and I thought we saw some good ones. So, but there's a lot to work out, Mike. There's a lot to work out.
I love the, we didn't see terrible performances, so let's get excited. And we'll start it out here with a horse named Nearly, wins a Gulfstream allowance, gets a 96 Beyer in there. 4-horse field, so that's the one knock for me right away. Not a larger field, but did have at least another horse that was legitimate in the race. So it was basically a 2-horse race in a sense, but Nearly looked impressive, kind of missed the break, got bumped early, made a nice middle move into fractions, right? Went 46 and change for a half mile at Gulfstream Park. Not very fast, but had to run that second quarter there, I would say, in sub 23 to get himself back into the race, and then pulled away nicely down the stretch. What did you make of Nearly here, winning that Gulfstream Park allowance? Where do you think we see him next?
Look, he was super impressive. But you kind of mentioned the issues and problems, and there's issues and problems with all these horses, but that doesn't mean they can't overcome it or it's a deal breaker. Only 4 horses. 2 of them, I think, probably didn't belong in the race. One of them, named Confessional, trained by Brad Cox, looked pretty good coming into it and ran okay to get second. But I think the positives you take away, you mentioned it, really got left at the break, just not very good there. And ran straight as a string down the stretch. I mean, he was a very professional horse. That's back-to-back solid efforts. It was just a 7-furlong race. That's the other thing. As you know, we're going to have to go 1.25 miles at some point. This Florida bred, who there's been good Florida breds, so that's not a huge knock, but, probably wasn't bred to go on the Derby trail when they bred this horse, to be quite honest with you. I've heard the Holy Bull going 1.16 miles there at Gulfstream is going to be an X for him. I think it's a good spot. It's important to note he received a 96 Beyer speed figure. That's the highest Beyer speed figure out of the horses we're going to talk about here on this first segment. So, but again, just going 7 furlongs. So there's still question marks.
Yeah, there's question marks. This is the horse who I thought got the worst trip of the winners that we're going to talk about. So I think that is a positive in my mind. I also think that going longer is going to be a great thing here for Nearly. I don't think that the 1.25 mile distance is going to be a problem when we get to the Kentucky Derby. And I think improves going to 1.16 miles. I prefer the Florida circuit. I've made that clear over the years. It's done me well when we're talking about Kentucky Derby. We'll see if the Florida circuit, again, going to be the best. Looking forward to see Nearly back out on the track. Also in Florida, Commander dominates the Mucho Macho Man Stakes. This was a larger field. I might say a worse field than the 4-horse field, though, as there was absolutely nothing but Commander in this race. He also got a perfect split. I mean, was basically sitting behind 5 horses on the turn or 4 horses on the turn, and the inside 2 stayed inside, the outside 2 floated, and he was just there in the 3-path and kind of ran away from him. I professional win. Not sure how much I can take from it.
Yeah, 100%. I think the positives you take from it is he showed a lot of maturity for a younger horse. You said, he was sitting behind horses. Sometimes a horse won't really do that at this point in their career, and they'll kind of get headstrong and try to run up to the lead. He was pretty push button. Now, they didn't have to push too much of a button because, like you said, there wasn't anything to beat. But look, same with Nearly and Commander both. They beat horses that maybe aren't very good how you want to see them beat horses that aren't very good, right? They didn't win by just a length. I mean, they totally dominated the race. So I liked that he was patient. I liked when they asked him to go, he did. I think it's going to be very interesting because right after the race, Brad Cox talked about, hey, maybe Commander's going to go to the Holy Bull. Well, if we get Nearly versus Commander in the Holy Bull on January 31st down at Gulfstream, that we are going to learn something, right? Because we're sitting here saying, hey, I think they're good. We don't know how good. That's going to be a nice little measuring stick. And plus, who knows who else is going to be there? That's usually a pretty decent race. So I think with both these horses, and I agree with you, I really like the Gulfstream circuit when it comes to the Triple Crown. I think with both these horses, they showed out. They showed us they could be really good, but now it's time to take the next step.
Now, Ted Noffey, Pletcher trainee, right? Like a horse that I would be expecting to be in Florida. Do you think he is also a Holy Bull contender there? And it's same with Ewing, who is up in New York, I think is going to be a Florida circuit horse as well, who was highly thought of last year.
Well, it's very interesting with Ted Noffey. I've heard the Fountain of Youth, which is the next race on the series, is going to be the target. I was kind of with you. I thought, well, Holy Bull might be a target with him, but it sounds like Fountain of Youth. Ewing's interesting. I certainly assumed he would be in Florida. He's actually in Oaklawn Park, and they're going to look at the Oaklawn series with Ewing, which is parlaying a very interesting thing to go to the next topic. Cassie finished first and second in the Smarty Jones at Oaklawn. So maybe they pivot with Ewing. Maybe they pivot with one of these other horses that won the Smarty Jones, or the one or finished second in the Smarty Jones.
Yeah, so for people who have not watched or listened to any of the content that we've done, I always liken the Triple Crown stretch to conferences in college basketball, right? You have these other conferences that are playing inside their own little bubble, and occasionally we see them switch over. You've got the Louisiana circuit, you've got the Oaklawn circuit in Arkansas, the Florida circuit, the New York circuit, you've got the California circuit. Kentucky sprinkles itself in there as well with Turfway Park and with Keeneland. You kind of have to decide which one is the best. If you can figure out the best circuit, the winner generally comes from that circuit. And so watching these horses cross over is always interesting. Ewing might be one of those horses that we see cross over and give us an idea. Okay, he faced the Oaklawn circuit and then faced the Florida circuit. Which one did he do better in? And then you kind of start to build your case around which circuit you believe may be the best that is running. Oaklawn, good segment here, going to the Mucho Macho Man. Strategic Risks wins this race very easily. And this was interesting because you also had Universe and Rancho Santa Fe, two other 3-year-olds that were relatively highly thought of. All three went off as basically co-favorites. And to me, the story of this race wasn't Strategic Risk, who did look awesome. I don't want to take anything away from him. It was the pace. I mean, they crawled in this race. We're talking almost a 52nd first half mile, 49.72. Went 1:15 to 6 furlongs. Now, Strategic Risk, after running that 1:15 and being forwardly placed, did go 12s home. So ran very fast after the 6 furlongs, but you kind of would like, well, if you run that slow, you'd hope that you're going to be able to still have something left in the tank. The other two favorites, Universe and Rancho Santa Fe, 7th and 8th around the track the majority of the time. Never really had a chance in this race. Were kind of disappointing nonetheless, despite the fact that it was a slow pace here. What did you make of the Mucho Macho Man?
Well, Smarty Jones, you mean?
I'm sorry, Smarty Jones. I'm sorry, yeah.
So you're still excited about Commander, the Mucho Macho Man. I don't blame you.
I like Florida. It's better than Arkansas. What can I say?
Hey, that's true. So when you look at this race, I'm with you. I don't think we learned a whole lot. Isn't it weird that Oaklawn usually has really fast paces in these races? And not only is it not a fast pace, it is just a crawl. It was a weird race. I'm with you. I don't want to take anything away from Strategic Risk because that's 2 good races in a row. And look, he got the trip, but still, you still have to be a good horse and finish the deal. And not only did he do that, he totally kind of ran away from him the last, couple hundred yards. So nothing against him. I don't hold anything against the horses that didn't run very well, like Universe and Rancho Santa Fe, that much either. I don't know what was going on with Rancho Santa Fe. He's the more disappointing one to me because he should be a little bit more forward in that race. He just kind of seemed like a mess the whole time. Universe is a one-dimensional horse. Go to the back and make one run. I give more of a pass to him because that's just totally not his game. He's out of his element when there's no pace to run into. So both of them were disappointing. Rancho Santa Fe more so. And like I said, the winner, nice win. I don't really know what to make of it. To me, he's got a lot more to prove than maybe the first 2 that we talked about on the list so far.
Yeah, I think this is one of those where you put the feather in the cap, right, for Strategic Risk, and then you say, let's see what you do next time. Let's see what you do when there's a hotter pace. Are you going to be that close? Or are you going to sit further back and make the run? Because if you assume that this is the run that was made after that pace, you're going to close lengths because you did go 12s home after running very slowly. However, you're never going to see that 1:15 again. And so for me, it's really a question mark of what is the overall style of this racehorse going to be, and what are we going to do if we do run into a quicker pace, which inevitably we will next time out. So I think Strategic Risk, one of those that you upgrade, but you put an asterisk next to it, right? Where you want to see what version of him we get next time. I thought he did look good going 2 turns. This was the only race that was 2 turns that we're going to talk about, so that I think is impressive. I agree with you. Universe had no prayer in this race because of the pace. Rancho Santa Fe was disappointing, but Universe had absolutely no prayer in the race. Over at Aqueduct, the Jerome Stakes, My World wins here, beats Balboa, who was the favorite in the race, and I would say got a little more hype after the last prep over there at Aqueduct. What did you make of My World's win here in the Jerome?
Well, I think this one's sneaky is how I will describe it. I think if you take it just for what it is and what it looked like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't like come off the page at you great, right? But if you look at the pedigree for My World, he really wants to go longer than a mile. And if you looked at that race, it took him a while to get by Balboa. But man, once they started to get towards the wire, I felt like that horse was accelerating and kind of taking off a little bit. He's going to run next in the Wither Stakes. I know you hate this. We go from a mile to a mile and an eighth back to a mile at Aqueduct on this Derby prep, which is ridiculous. I hate it too. But my point I'm trying to make is, I'm very interested in My World going a mile and an eighth, and if he improves, because he received an 84 Beyer speed figure for the effort in the Jerome, which is average, right, at best, especially when you're talking about like a Derby potential horse. I really am curious if they run a mile and an eighth, if he's got a lot of energy going that distance, and if he improves. I think there's something there. I'm not over the moon about him, but I think he's sneaky. I think he's one to keep on your radar.
Yeah, I do too. I thought this was a fine race. 3 horses in here that were relevant from an odds perspective. The winner, My World, the second place finisher, Balboa, and the third place finisher, Enforced Agenda. So this is the first trip note I'm going to mention here, and I will mention it quite a bit inside the Kentucky Derby Trail because trip matters a lot for these horses. Keep an eye on Enforced Agenda. I thought this horse who was sitting next to My World down the backstretch got very much the worst of it. The 2 horse who was a long shot faded back into him. You saw Enforced Agenda have to essentially take up and then go outside a little bit, but there was a horse to the outside, so you had almost a full check there, and then got back into the race, ended up running third. This is a horse that is by Liam's Map. The broodmare sire is Tappet, though. Mentally, you could see the Tappet coming out down the stretch as well, not quite mentally where you need to be to run in this level of race, but I thought still was impressive closing. I think there is more talent in Enforced Agenda than what we have seen so far, and I think that trip was also not great. So I kind of put Enforced Agenda officially on my radar off this race. I do think My World's the most impressive. No interest in Balboa. I think we've seen the best of Balboa, but I think the first and third place finishers could make some noise during the Triple Crown here.
Yeah, I'm glad you talked about Enforced Agenda. The one thing I'll say, we talked about Commander, and I talked about how he showed a lot of maturity. He sat behind horses. He didn't get discouraged not being in the front. I think you're kind of right. I was watching Enforced Agenda back the day after the race, and he seemed like he was getting ready to at least make some sort of move. I'm not saying he would have won, but he was going to look like he's getting ready to run better. And like you mentioned, the horse backed into him. I don't know about you, but I felt like there was a good stretch after that where he just said, the hell with this. I don't want to do this. And then I feel like late in the race, he kind of got back going again. So I agree. It's hard because you just don't know what's there. Maybe he makes his run and he still gets third. You know what I mean? You just don't know. But he definitely, it cost himself a little bit of a run there. And maybe he learned a little bit out of it as well.
The running in spots is always interesting, right? And I think this is a horse that ran in spots after getting backed up into. You're right, just completely disinterested for probably a furlong or furlong and a half, and then closed ground on the leaders. I think he would have finished second at worst. I don't want to say he was going to win the race, but I don't think he finishes third in that race. I think he beats Balboa had he got a better trip, a cleaner trip there. So again, one I want to keep an eye on there. This is all part of the Triple Crown stretch. We'll be talking about these races, these horses. We'll dissect them, talk about who we do think maybe got a bad trip, a good trip, someone to look at. And again, bred to go the distance as well. So this is a horse that should be able to get the mile and eighth next time out at New York. A horse where if you get 10-1, maybe that's a win bet back, right? Maybe we're not talking about Kentucky Derby, but in the future preps, there is a little bit of value there. A prep that, just isn't going to happen. The Pasco Stakes gets 1 horse entered down in Tampa Bay. Thoughts, Aaron? This isn't California. What are we doing?
Yeah, this was disturbing, and to be quite honest, I didn't even realize it didn't fill till this morning. I was going to go take a look because it's supposed to draw yesterday, Wednesday, and we're recording here on Thursday. But it got one horse, and like you said, a California thing. That's something we've kind of come to expect, but I've never heard of that happening at Tampa Bay Downs or at any Florida track for that matter. So, I heard they're going to try to fill it again today. I don't know that one day. I don't know where the difference is. Maybe there's some claimers back there and they said, oh, hell, let's try it. I don't know. But it is very concerning. Not that the Pasco Stakes is that big of a deal. It's not, but it's still like Bookham Daniel won this race a couple of years ago. Like we've seen decent horses running and we always seem to get at least 6 or 7. So I don't know what the story is, but it is very concerning.
Off the top of my head, I want to say it's a $75,000 overnight stakes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, if you're telling me a day later you're going to rerun it, I'm entering my claimer.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you get 4, you're getting more than you would get if you win a claiming race in some cases. So we'll see if we can refill it. But it's disappointing. I'll just put it as disappointing because it's the Florida circuit has 3-year-olds. It's not like this is an issue of horses. This is an issue of people not wanting to enter the race. One other thing I want to mention before we go further, because I do think this is relevant too, and I'm glad you brought up Bookham Dano. Every year, we go through this stretch, and we are currently in what I call the sprint stretch of these Triple Crown races, where you have sprinters running a lot of races because it's 7 furlongs, it's a mile. We haven't really gone to the mile, 16th mile and a quarter yet. Keep an eye on the really good sprinters who then stink when they stretch out to 2 turns, because horses like Patch Adams, who was a money-making machine for us last year off the Triple Crown trail, when he got back to what he does best, which is sprinting, is a horse that you want to try and kind of locate early, right? A horse that you want to fade when we're going 2 turns, but when we cut back to 1 second half of the season, it's a horse that can make you money.
Yeah, I mean, Patch Adams is a perfect example, but like I said, there's one every single year. Remember Jackie's Warrior, a horse that they tried to stretch out multiple times, just couldn't do it. Shows up in the Pat Day Mile that year, and I don't remember the odds, but they were way higher than they should have been. I remember that. I was standing on the rail watching that horse win that day. It was like, wow, how did they let this horse go off? And the reason why, that form was muddied up. They're like, oh, the horse lost here, whatever. And to talk about Patch Adams, he ran in an allowance on, it was either Oaks or Derby Day. I think it was Derby Day last year. I think it was the race right after the Kentucky Derby Patch Adams was in. And he was a good price in that allowance field and was still able to, to win. And so, yeah, you're right. Keep an eye out on it. And it seems like there's 1, 2, 3 of these horses every year that you can make money on.
Yeah, look, people get Derby fever. It's just that simple. They want to run horses in the Kentucky Derby, so they take some of their sprinters, they try and stretch them out, they see what they can do. It inevitably fails miserably, and then they figure it out in the back half of the season that they have a good 3-year-old sprinter, so make sure you keep an eye on those. Aaron, it's not just horse racing this weekend. We have got a loaded football weekend as well. Today we've got a college football playoff game. Tomorrow a college football playoff game. We've got 3 NFL playoff games coming up this weekend, and if you want to make sure that you are ahead of everything, you should become a VSiN Pro right now. You can join VSiN Pro and get instant access to everything you need to make more informed bets every single day. Sign up and get the daily best bets from VSiN hosts and guests, real-time DraftKings and Circa betting splits, AI-powered prop tools, and matchup analysis, 24/7 video and full show replays over on the VSiN Watch app, plus expert picks and prop data throughout the NFL and college football playoffs. Get started today for just $9.99 or save 50% on an annual plan. Start betting smarter today at VSiN.com/subscribe. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. My coach got fired today. Mike McDaniel got his walking papers. Apparently they think they can get John Harbaugh. If I was John Harbaugh, I would not go anywhere near the Dolphins, but that is neither here nor there. All right, let's go to our first preview here. We're going to talk about some Saturday Santa Anita racing and kick it off with race number 5 from Santa Anita, the San Vicente Stakes. This is for 3-year-olds going 7 furlongs. We're going to see some of those horses who want to get into that Kentucky Derby gate. Just 5 headed postward here, but at least we filled the race, Aaron. Grade 2, $200,000 on the line. We've got Butane in here for Bob Baffert. Acknowledge me, please. Another contender for Doug O'Neill in this race. Where are you going on top?
That made me laugh. I don't know why, but that got me when you said that. They did at least feel it. You're right.
Hey.
Look, we've seen this year after year after year, and it's usually Bob Baffert that wins this race. And so I'm going to go number 3, Butane on top. Let's talk about him here for a second. A really nice Del Mar maiden special weight win back in August, and so nice. They tried the Grade 1 hopeful. They shipped all the way across the country to Saratoga for the next start for Butane. He ran okay, Mike. He got second. He got beaten 8.5 lengths by Ted Noffey. Ted Noffey beat a lot of horses like that have come back to run pretty well. So not too worried about the length getting beat there. Thought he ran okay. Went back and watched that race again just to see, okay, did my eyes deceive me or did he run okay that day? And he did. So I'm going to go number 3, Butane on top. I think this has kind of been the target. If you look at the workout pattern, missed some time, but they've kind of got him back, and he seems to be working extremely well. Should be a good spot. I'm going to go number 3, Butane on top.
Look, I get it. Baffert's got 2 here, Greenwich Village and Butane. The one horse, Greenwich Village, probably a little bit faster than Butane, but I think Butane is the horse they want in the lead, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Acknowledge Me Please, also speed there from the 4. I think Doug O'Neill wants to get this horse forwardly placed, and with all that speed signed on, I'm going to go for a little bit of an upset shot here. Give me the number 2 horse, So Happy, for Mark Glatt, Mike Smith. This horse looked awesome on debut. Was 38-1. Don't love that. Would like the horse to get bet at least a little bit, but Glatts aren't always the best first time out. And the morning workouts didn't exactly scream that this horse was going to fire huge. However, after the race, we get a bullet workout at Santa Anita, 1 of 44. Has worked longer distances after that, so kind of getting ready to go longer. So you can see them trying to get this horse going around 2 turns. I think probably is a better sprinter. Run Happy out of a blame mare, so that the pedigree kind of points more towards sprinting in my mind than it does going 2 turns. We're going 7 furlongs today. This is a horse that I think has a very good opportunity to be able to stalk and pounce. I love the professionalism in that first effort where this horse was sitting 4th or 5th, which is not something you usually see, especially debuting at 6.5 furlongs for a horse that's able to win, but that's what this horse, So Happy, was able to do. And then you look at who else was in that race. The horse Secured Freedom comes back to win, who was 4th place in that race at 17-1. Winston Avenue was 2nd, which is a reasonably thought of 3-year-old. But the key here is your favorite at 40 cents on the dollar was Blacksmith. Blacksmith has turned out to be a not bad horse at all for the Bob Baffert barn, running 2nd last time we saw him. Blacksmith, one of those to me where I'm like, okay, this is why this horse, and ran 2nd in the Los Al Futurity, by the way, grade 2. That's why everyone else in this race was 8+1, and it makes me not worry as much about the 36-1. Because Blacksmith took so much money, So Happy didn't have an opportunity to take that type of money. Give me the number 2, So Happy, who I think is going to be a little bit of a price here, Aaron.
I think that's fair. I think that's a very fair pick. That's what I've gotten 2nd. I went back and watched the debut race. I'm a big Mark Glatt fan as well. I'm with you on that one. And, what turned out with Blacksmith has been interesting. He really needed 2 turns. He's ran a lot better going 2 turns. He just didn't. I mean, he just got waxed in that race, as like I said, is a huge favorite. So, but look, I do think speed is going to be a little bit of an issue because Greenwich Village wants to go. Acknowledge Me Please. I think the only option really for that horse cutting back now is to go. And it's just going to be a situation of what does Baffert want to do with Butane? Does he want to try to take him gate to wire? Does he kind of take him back like they did in the Hopeful a little bit? And then it's So Happy and Butane kind of going down the stretch there. I think it's a 2-horse race between the 2 and the 3. So I thought So Happy very, very impressive on debut. And it's just, okay, can you now, jump up and beat another Baffert? And then that's kind of the thing and kind of the measuring stick of where journalism was last year. It's like he kept beating the Bob Baffert horses. Well, that's the first step out in California. So we'll see if So Happy can do that again.
Yeah, Acknowledge Me Please, 4-horse here and for Doug O'Neill. Kamara rides this one. Very good race 2 backbreaking the maiden, gets a 93 Beyer, the best Beyer in this field. Went gate to wire that day, went 22:44 and change, which is the fastest anyone's gone inside of this field. I guess Greenwich Village did do that last time at Los Al, but I don't always trust Los Al for fractions versus Santa Anita or Del Mar. Can Acknowledge Me Please just go gate to wire, or do you think there's just too much pace pressure here? And what do you think the price, like Butane's the favorite, right? Mm-hmm. Who's the second choice? Is it So Happy, or is it Acknowledge Me Please, or is it the rail runner Greenwich Village?
I don't think it's Greenwich Village. I think it's either So Happy or Acknowledge Me Please. I think Acknowledge Me Please, there's a chance he could be second choice because people bet Beyers, I think, harder than they bet anything else. And they're going to see that 93 Beyer in a very similar situation here. It was 6.5 furlongs that day at 7 here. I think they may gravitate to him. As far as your other question, I think, look, I'm with you. Like, I think Greenwich Village is fast, but I think Acknowledge Me Please is faster when it's all said and done, when they actually get out there on the track against each other and not just looking at times. So I do think he gets out to the front. Acknowledge Me Please, I should say, gets out to the front. My, again, Baffert kind of conspiracy theory thoughts is I think the 1 is entered to bother the 4, and then the 3 is just going to sit the perfect trip and go get him. Now, that does benefit your horse, so happy the 2 as well. So that's why I think it's a 2-horse race between the 2 and the 3, because I think the 1 and the 4 go, and I think they wear each other out.
All right, last question here on the San Vicente, the 5th at Santa Anita on Saturday. Over-under, half, 0.5 Kentucky Derby horses in the gate. Not winners, just horses to make the gate, 0.5 horses from the San Vicente. You taking the over or the under?
Under, for sure.
I agree. I think this is a...
Well,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, your horse, I think, is a sprinter, and I think could be one of those horses that you just talked about. Maybe if he wins here, they try a little longer, and then they realize he can't do it. He's just bred to be a sprinter, and I don't trust Butane, really, so...
Yeah, I think Butane is the only one who has a chance. I think Acknowledge Me Please and So Happy are both sprinters. Greenwich Village could go long. I don't think he's good enough to make the Derby. Thirsty Rebel, the 5-horse, entered to fill the race, right? Yeah. Doug O'Neill wanted to make sure this race went so that Acknowledge Me Please could run in it, and that's why the 5-horse is in here. Number 2, So Happy, for me, in the Grade 2 San Vicente Santa Anita, race number 5 on Saturday. Number 3, Butane, for Aaron Halterman. We're going to rewind 2 races here. Go to the 3rd race at Santa Anita on Saturday. The $100,000 Santa Ynez going 7 furlongs. Older fillies and mares here. And Explora heads back to the racetrack for Bob Baffert. Going to be the 5-horse. Going to be your favorite in this spot. You going Explora or are you going another direction?
I hate this race. Don't you a little bit? I mean, you got 3 Bafferts in here, and it's just like, okay, which one am I playing? To me, Hamika and Explorer, if you're trying to choose between the 2, Hernandez has been riding both, and he chose Explorer. So I think there that puts Explorer kind of, quote unquote, in the driver's seat there. Then you got to look at, okay, Bottle of Rogue or Explorer when it comes to the Bafferts, and I don't think the other 2 have much of a chance, to be honest. I still lean Explorer. I just think she's a little bit better horse. In the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, I thought she ran a pretty good race, and she just, got beat by a horse that was just able to come get her that day, but I still thought she ran okay. The Oak Leaf was really good. I know that in the Del Mar Debutante, Bottle of Rogue actually beat her, but I think in this spot, I think Explorer's gotten better. I want Explorer in this spot.
Yeah, isn't that the question?
Yeah.
Like, what are we going to get from Explorer? Because she lost. Like, I want to say, well, she's a better sprinter, but she won the Oak Leaf. She lost the Del Mar Debutante. That kind of makes you wonder, and lost a Bottle of Rouge that day. Like, Rivera, the 4-horse, was at least close to this horse and beat the other Baffert last time out. So it kind of feels like do you want a single Explorer, or do you try and beat the Bafferts? That is kind of how I looked at this race. I think Explorer is the best horse. It's lame. It's not fun. Yeah. But I think Explorer probably your best horse here. If I was going to take a non-Baffert, it's Lawali. It's the Mark Ladd trainee who gets Rispoli here, who I thought kind of ran up against it in the Del Mar Debutante, where it ended up running 3rd to Explorer and Bottle of Rouge. Both of those horses were forward the entire way. They ran 1-2. Lawali was kind of coming from off of it and not really able to get to those 2 horses, but seemed to close ground a little bit better, then stretches out twice. Now we're coming back here off the layoff. Like Mark Latt, 28% off this style of layoff, adds blinkers to put a little more pace in there. I think Explorer probably wins, but if I'm trying to beat her, I think it's Lawali that I take the shot with.
I don't totally disagree with that. I mean, you saw the horse run within a length and a half of the 2 Bafferts in the Del Mar Debutante. I mean, this was another Mark Klatt winner that won on debut, and you kind of talked about maybe they get a little bit better, and this horse did get a little bit better after that debut win. Just ran up against pretty good horses and got beat. I don't care about the Breeders' Cup Juvenile when it comes Juvenile Fillies, I should say, since when it comes to this specific race, like you mentioned. It's just, you kind of draw a line through it there. I think this is a good spot for Lawali. But it's just, Southern California racing in the stakes events, and especially the 3-year-olds, it's hard to go around Baffert. And I wouldn't be shocked if it's another Baffert than Explorer, but I kind of would be a little surprised if it's the 2 or the 4. Baffert just kind of, he has the power. He's got the best horses usually anyway, and then he can kind of just set up the races how he wants to.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Bottle Rouge, probably the best price of the Bafferts, would be the second most one that's interesting to me. Also owned by his wife, which generally means it's a pretty good horse, especially if it's in these level of stakes races. So the Santa Ynez, race number 3, Santa Anita, number 5 Explorer for Aaron, number 5 Explorer for me. Little interest in Lawali. If you do want to try and just single Lawali, play a cheap pick 5. I don't hate that idea, just to see if you can spice it up. Now, mention this at the top of the show, but want to make sure I shout it out again. VSiN at the Track now has its own YouTube channel, Aaron. Woohoo! Yeah, baby. We are going to have our own content there, so make sure that if you've been watching us at VSiN Live, head over to YouTube at VSiN at the Track. Yes, the @ sign, then VSiN at the Track. So doubling up on the ats there. Never miss an episode or any of our best moments. Make sure you catch the race previews as well as the Triple Crown talk that we're going to have leading up to the Kentucky Derby here. Join the VSiN at the Track community. Post your questions, comments on YouTube. Mr. Halterman will reply to almost all of them. I'm a little worse at it. I may reply to a couple, but we'll try and get to everything down there in the comments. So jump on, join us there. Now, if you want to listen to us in the podcast form, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, subscribe, rate, review, help get the word out here for VSiN at the Track as we move toward the first Saturday in May. All right, let's head to Gulfstream Park here. Race number 11, closing out the card on a Saturday. I'll call it a wide open 1 mile race on the turf here for state-bred fillies going a mile. Fascinating race in my mind here when you're going up and down this one. It feels like there are quite a few directions that you can go here. You've got some lightly raced 4-year-olds that are trying the turf and trying winners for the first time. You've also got some of the more veteran horses who have 5-6 wins here. So a lot of different directions. Where are you going on top, Aaron?
Well, I think this is a decision you've got to make because I don't think there's any doubt the best horse, when we're just talking about, okay, who's the best horse in this race? I'm not talking about distance or anything else. I think it's the 11 Great Venezuela. Like you just look at her and you're like, man, look at the speed figures. They make sense. Look at the wins and losses. It just makes sense. So here's the problem. All that resume has been built up in 5.5 furlong races. She's ran a mile twice and got second and third. He'd never had a win. And also, we got a pretty poor post position going 1 mile on the turf here at Gulfstream Park. So there are negatives, and therefore I'm going to play against the favorite in this spot. And now it's just the matter of, okay, let's find one that makes the most sense. Unfortunately, I should say, for me, it does come to the 7 Ashima on top, which is the second choice, but more success at the distance, been running pretty well here lately, has speed figures that can kind of match up. And you look at the race 3 back, going 1 mile here at Gulfstream Park against Open Company, got second, only beaten ahead. 88 Beyer speed figure, kind of stalked the pace and was able to pounce and almost get the job done. Last time out, going to mile 16th at Churchill in a starter allowance, was able to win by 3/4 of a length. Same kind of thing, kind of got, mid-pack and was able to pounce. I think that's a trip you want. I do think there's speed in here. So I'm going to go number 7, Ashima on top here. I know it's just the second choice. I know, I'm going against the favorite, but it is just the second choice. But I just kind of feel like the post is good, the trip is good, and she's the second best horse in the race, but she can actually get the distance.
Yeah, it's funny because you mentioned the key to me here, and that is the pace. There's a lot of pace here. And there's pace from the inside, pace from the outside. And when that happens, you are generally going to see a setup where it gets a little bit crazy, where it gets a little bit hot. I just saw the morning lines for this. I'm going to go nuts, I guess. My top pick's on the rail. 30-1, Lady Cha-Cha here. This is a horse that I think is going to heavily benefit from the pace setup here. A horse that it has won over this Gulfstream Park turf 2 out of 10 times, won at the distance 2 out of 7 times, has the buyers to be competitive if we can take a decent step forward. I realize we're asking you to take a decent step forward here, but I thought that last race was a lot better for this horse, and the trip wasn't great. Miguel Vasquez is going to ride back here, has ridden this horse a couple times before, including winning over this Gulfstream Park turf. Second time in a barn. I'm hoping for a step forward there. This is a barn that, when uses Velasquez, wins over a 20% click, and the price is definitely right. I mean, I didn't realize 30-1 was going to be the number. Here I am. I think this is a setup that is going to be a beautiful setup here for La Cha-Cha, who should be able to essentially sit on the rail, let all this speed go, and then see what happens here. When you go through this, like the 2, Luz de Luna, that's like a 6 furlong synthetic sprinter. The 3, Miss Marinelle, 100% is going to go. The 4, Violated, going to be forwardly placed. If you look at like even your horse, Ashima, wants to be forward in these races. Super Willow wants to be forward. Ruglish is a forwardly placed horse. You've got Super Zonda, who has been forward in the majority of the races, and then Great Venezuela on the outside coming out of turf sprints. Like, give me a shot for this thing to collapse. And if I'm going to take a collapse shot, I might as well take a 30-1 collapse shot here. So I guess I'm going with the crazy price here. That's who I picked. I'm going to stick with it. Lady Cha-Cha, 30-1 for me, Aaron. Am I nuts?
Yeah, you probably are, but I do agree with one big point that you're making is the pace is going to be there. So, if you my thing is with the 7, I don't expect the 7 to be on the pace, right? I think we'll be off. And so that's kind of why I went with a little bit of a closer. And you also, with Great Venezuela, the 11, not only coming out of sprints, but in the 11 hole, Mike, I mean, they have to send basically with this horse. So I don't hate the idea. I didn't consider Lady Cha-Cha. I'm not going to lie. I was quickly, as you were talking, kind of looking, and it was just like, man, I don't know on that one. I'll tell you.
That's how we live.
I'll tell you. Well, that's fine. I'll tell you another one, and this is, not as crazy as a price, but I almost picked the number 6, Spirited Boss. A lot of the reasons you mentioned with the 1, I also like about the 6. I think we'll be off of it, and I think we'll benefit from a pace collapse. And this horse gets Irad Ortiz after Marion has been riding this horse, and Perez and Velasquez the last few times. So Irad gets back aboard. And horse was a winner last time out, and it was at Tampa, and that's a totally different animal than Gulfstream. I just thought with the pace, the number 6 Spirited Boss made a lot of sense. So that's who I had in second. I don't know, maybe I'll have to go back and look at this one a little bit harder, but I definitely think your point of somebody from off the pace is going to win. I think that's valid.
Yeah, look, I had the 6 in second too.
Okay.
And I have them like I have like so I rank them in 3 tiers: must use, and then next up, and then kind of the deeper ticket style. My 2 must uses were the 1 and the 6 here. Those are the 2 horses I think are the most likely to win. The 6 Spirited Boss, 6-1 on the morning line. A little more reasonable than 30-1. But hey, I'm not that reasonable of a handicapper sometimes, so we're going to take a little bit of a shot here. Spirited Boss, I think you go back and you've seen run at this level, right? And you saw run in the Honey Ride at $8,000 overnight stakes here at Gulfstream Park, 3 back, going a mile, ends up running second as your favorite there. I like the dimension we saw from that Tampa race more than anything else, where the pace wasn't that fast, and yet this horse was able to kind of sit off it, was inside, kind of forced to really run in this manner, and then had to alter down the stretch and was able to win and clear. Now, easier competition. But I like the fact that we kind of were forced to rate a little bit more. I'm hoping that we get that same rating trip there. Irad also has experience with this horse, ridden him 3 times at Gulfstream Park. 2 of those ended up in victories, including one going a mile over the synthetic and coming from just off the pace, sitting in second in that race. What about the 5, Sapphire Girl? This was the other one that I stared at a long time. Coming out of the maiden special weight ranks, wins the first time out on turf, improves the Beyer quite a bit. Now you're getting first start in the 4-year-old season. Did you have any interest in the 5, Sapphire Girl?
Yeah, I do. I don't think this is too far-fetched of a horse because the improvement level could be there. This horse started on the dirt and ran okay, moved to the turf and improved greatly. Gonna have to improve again, but if you're getting 15-1, that's kind of, you're getting paid for that improvement, right? I mean, you're not having to lay a short number on this horse. So makes sense. Strong connections as well here at Gulfstream Park with Safi, Joseph, and Edgar Zayas riding for him. I just don't know that this horse is going to be able to prove enough. I also don't love that we haven't seen her since October 26th. And so, you're kind of asking horse to improve off of kind of a longer layoff as well. It is first out as a 4-year-old though. And you like that angle there. You like second out as a 4-year-old is better, I think. So,
Yep.
I've got this horse circled. It's kind of a wait and see for me. I'm not going to play her. Would not be shocked though if I look up and go, wow, Sapphire Girl won that race.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either. And I'm going to try and beat Great Venezuela. I'm going to try and beat Ashima. I'm going to try and beat both of the favorites here and just see if we can go price hunting. Don't hate the 156 exacta box. don't love boxing, but the prices are going to be right on those 3 horses. So you're going to get paid if you're able to get them home. Race number 11 on Saturday, the Sunshine Filly and Mare Turf. Number 1, Lady Cha-Cha, 30-1 for me. Number 7, Ashima for Aaron there. Let's head to our last preview before we get to the best bets on Sunday from Santa Anita. Race number 8. We're going to go down the hill, 6.5 furlongs on the turf, the Grade 3 Las Cienegas, street in Los Angeles there that I have driven many of times. Your favorite going to be on the rail, Queen Maxima. You going to try and beat her, or you throwing her on top, Aaron?
I love Queen Maxima. I'll just start
awesome.
with that.
Like, let's be fair. She's a really, really awesome horse.
She's really, really good. And so therefore I'm going to pick Queen Maxima to win this race. I don't love when you're going downhill on the turf taking favorites, because they tend to be kind of just crazy races. But the problem with fading Queen Maxima, look at the last 2 times this horses went downhill on the turf. Excellent races, one by 4.5 in a Grade 3, and then one an allowance optional claimer by 3.5. And then the other time was in a stakes race and got second, beaten by a horse that was pretty darn good. So it's there, right? We know this horse can go down the turf. Or downhill on the turf. You look at the form of this horse; it's pretty darn good. Won a stakes race last time out. Then you kind of look, okay, what do the Beyers look like, or other numbers that you want to look at? She looks like the fastest horse. So it's boring, but it's Queen Maxima for me.
The last 6 times she has faced the ladies sprinting, she has won 6 times, 6 for 6 in those races. The other races on the chart there, last time or 2 back, faced the males in the Grade 3 Green Flash, ended up running 6th there, but that was actually a pretty good 6th, only missed by 2 lengths, and then ran a mile the time before that. She doesn't want a mile. She wants to go 6 furlongs or 6.5 or 5. She wants to be turf sprinting against the ladies. Queen Maxima gets the win. I agree with you here. I do want to mention another horse who I think is the wild card. And if someone beats her, I think it's a new shooter, and I think that's the 7, Rosie Jeeks here, who was in the Chad Brown barn, ships across country, and now joins the Neil Drysdale barn. The turf spring numbers for Drysdale pretty good, 17%. Not great, first-time trainer off this type of layoff, which are your 2 main question marks, but I think you're going to get a price. And this horse was on the improve. World of Trouble sire sold for $300,000. There were expectations for this horse. World of Trouble just stands for 5. I wouldn't be shocked if Rosie Jeeks runs a decent race here. I don't hate the 1-7 exacta cold. I think that if you're going to try and beat Queen Maxima, to me, the win bet here is Rosie Jeeks.
I don't hate it. I looked at this horse for quite a while, and it's not often you see Chad Brown lose a turf horse, but I think it's just, hey, we got to find some spots, and maybe didn't want to run them on the bigger circuits. Or this is a big circuit, but for turf, it's kind of the lower level down from the Naira circuit. So and that's why I think they went to Monmouth. So I think it was a good move to send Rosie Jeeks here. So I don't hate it. I really like the 8 Navy Bell, and I know that Navy Bell's been defeated by Queen Maxima, but if you're talking exacta, I like 1-8. I know that's probably going to be a chalky, but Navy Bell, that horse is pretty consistent too as far as hitting the board. So can't beat Queen Maxima, I don't think, but I like Navy Bell quite a bit as well.
Yeah, look, Navy Bell is the logical second place horse. I'm a little bit of an illogical person. I want to try and find prices. So for me, that's why I look to the 7 there. Now, if Queen Maxima loses, it feels like it's because someone goes gate to wire. Who's the speed in this race? Who gets the lead?
Is it the 3? I kind of looked at the 3 for a bit because of that.
Maybe?
But
yeah.
Maybe. I mean, it seems like it has, he got speed enough to get to the lead in this race. 2 back, ran down the hill and was second pretty much the whole way and then won. I think it's the 3.
I think it might be the 4.
Okay.
Spicy Bug, who you go back going down the hill, was at least close to a 22:44. You go back to the 6 furlong win at Santa Anita, set the pace 22:44. And you have like an 88 and a 90 Beyer that are kind of hidden in there that are both turf sprinting. That at least puts you within like shouting distance of the 1. Maybe the 4 gets brave and could do something on the front. So I think that might be your pace. What did you make of the 2? This is the last one I want to talk about here. Egyptian Mao, a Neil Drysdale horse that comes over from South Africa, runs a decent third to Queen Maxima, first time in North America, comes back and runs a 95 Beyer, loses to the Navy Bell here. But that race competes with everybody else here, and probably better at 6.5, comes back, wins down the hill next time out. Any shot here for the 2 Egyptian Mao?
I think there's a shot for sure. I think to your point of like, who's the speed? And we're like, I'm not sure. Well, this horse is going to need some pace, right? In this race. I mean, this horse just has no early speed. But look, a third, a second, and a first, and 3 starts here in the United States. That's pretty darn good. And I went back and watched the last one specifically because it was down the hill. And I look, the horse ran fine. There's nothing wrong. I just don't think she's as good as Queen Maxima, right? But yeah, I mean, look, if you told me that this horse, hey, I'm going to bet this horse, well, let's see the odds first. I don't, we don't have the morning line obviously yet, but if you get a decent enough price, I wouldn't mind taking a shot. I think you need like 6 or 8 to 1 though. But hey, the horses ran down the hill twice, won on it last time out, and then the first time was down the hill, and that was the first time in the United States. So imagine coming over here and your first race is down that hill. I mean, that's excusable, right? That the horse got third that day. So, but after that's improved. So yeah, if you get a decent enough price, I don't hate that one.
Yeah, interesting betting race because, like, look, if you're playing the multis and you're trying to get prices home, I think you just go 2-4, 2-4-7, and you hope that you beat Queen Maxima. If you're playing a single race and you want to play like a super, I don't hate the idea of just putting Queen Maxima on top and hoping you get, like, if the 7 is 10-1, if the 4 is 20-1, if the 2 is 8-1. Maybe you just put them underneath the 1 and see if you can get a big number home here. The Las Cienegas Stakes on Sunday, race number. It's 8 on the card there on Santa Anita Sunday card. Number 1 Queen Maxima for Aaron, number 1 Queen Maxima for me. But I don't think it's just open and shut. I think you can still bet this race if you want to find ways to attack those single races, or you want to bet multis and try and get around Queen Maxima. All right, Aaron, time for that part of the show that everybody waits for, our best bets for the weekend. I will let you kick it off here. You're going to Gulfstream Park, race number 3 for your first best bet.
Yeah, let's go race number 3 there, Gulfstream Park on Saturday. I like the 5. She's a gamer here. This is a horse that's, look, I think this horse has found their kind of the right class level in this race. 3 races back, breaks the maiden. They try allowance optional claiming events with this horse after that, and it didn't run all that well. I also think this horse is going to, those last 2 races were on the turf, and now we're getting back to the dirt. I actually think that's going to help. I know that broke the maiden on the synthetic, but was running decent on the dirt as well. I just think getting back in class, dropping back in class, I should say, getting back on the dirt, getting Ira aboard as well. That's a good thing. When he rides for Mark Cassie, it usually works out pretty good. 25% here at Gulfstream. So Gulfstream Park race 3 on Saturday gave me the number 5. She's a gamer.
Yeah, 6-5 on the morning line. I agree with you. I think switching back to the dirt, the key here for She's a Gamer. I agree. She is the horse to beat in that spot. All right, for me, Saturday, race number 4 from Santa Anita. We're going to a maiden special weight, baby. You know I love them. You know we don't give them enough attention on this show. Give me the number 4 Romantic Ride here for Vladimir Serin. JJ Hernandez is going to get the mount. We're going 6 furlongs on the turf course. I love the fact that this is a state-bred maiden special weight because Romantic Ride debuted at Churchill Downs, $30,000 and gets claimed. Was in the rail, never a good spot to break from if you're a first-time starter. It was 26-1, Aaron, and they dropped the $30K in on it. That tells me that this is a barn that saw something in the morning with this horse, who had been running fairly good. The fact that we take the horse to California because we are Calbred, find a state-bred maiden special weight, so a very good position, tells me there was a plan for this horse all along. I love when a good plan comes together. Just ask the Ocean's 11 crew there. I think Romantic Ride has been focusing and pointing toward this race. We got a blowout bullet work, 1 of 99 at Santa Anita on December 29th, going 4 furlongs and 46. I love the spot for this horse. Serin pretty good turf sprinting here, 17%. And you get JJ Hernandez up, the best jockey in the meet. Give me the number 4, Romantic Ride, in the 4th race Saturday at Santa Anita. Maiden special weight effort here for the State Breds.
Well, this race is kind of a mess, Mike.
That's why I like it. It is a mess.
Know, but this is kind of a mess. I don't really know what's going to happen in this one. I don't hate your pick at all. I will probably maybe end up on him. I'm not sure yet, but holy cow, I wouldn't want to make a best bet out of this one because this is just a lot of first time starters and just kind of a nasty race, to be quite honest with you.
But that's part of the beauty of it. There's no other talent in this race. You don't have to beat much. And this is second start, which is a logical improvement angle. To me, this is a great spot to be playing the 4-horse here. I did look at Dark Omen a little bit, too. First-time starter who is for a barn that doesn't have a good first-out percentage, but 8 for 35 on the year, 23%. So keep an eye on Dark Omen, too, on the board if you're looking to play an exacta. That is, I believe, the 9-horse Dark Omen there. But give me the 4, Romantic Ride, 4th race, Santa Anita. First best bet of the weekend for me. You're headed back to Gulfstream, race number 7. Who you got?
Let's go Gulfstream back to Saturday here. Race number 7. Give me the number 2 Surfs Up in this spot. A horse claimed last time out by Carlos David, who does very well down here at Gulfstream Park, especially with the claiming ranks. Gets Irad aboard. That's the go-to guy here at Gulfstream Park for him as well when he can get him. Horse is going to was claimed for 25, going to go right back into the $25,000 claiming ranks. And I think has found a race here where this is absolutely the lone speed in the race. I just don't see a whole lot of other speed. Maybe the 5, but I don't think the 5 is quite as fast as the 2. So I think the instructions are very simple. Go to the front, see if he can hold on. I think he will. So give me the number 2 Surfs Up in the 7th at Gulfstream on Saturday.
Yeah, another logical horse. Would not be surprised if this horse wins. It probably should be the favorite. We'll see what happens when they break from the gate there. But this is one there where I wouldn't talk you off it. We'll put it that way. For me, second best bet of the weekend, back to Santa Anita, back to Saturday. Race number 10, another state bred effort over the turf. This time we're going a mile. I'm going to go the number 2 horse, King of Dragons, who... Look, it took a little bit to break the maiden, but able to get the job done at the state bred level. Jumps into an overnight stakes company, doesn't run well. Then runs at a 6.5 furlong sprint where this horse just had no interest in going 6.5 furlong. Stretches out to a mile last time in the new barn for Peter Urton. Improved massively there. 83 Beyer. Was kind of like rank a little bit early in that race too, so could have run even better. If you go watch the replay, the horse wanted to be more forward, but was able to stalk that day and ended up running second at this level. Now we come back. We're not going to be the favorite because Cali Cat and Frank Bullitt both beat this horse 2 back. I think you're going to get a decent price on King of Dreams, who is on the improve. I like the barn switch. I like second out for this barn as well. Going to a jockey that has a very good record with this barn. And if you look at routes for Peter Urton, 21%, $2.42 ROI. You look at the turf, 22%, $2.84 ROI. Allowance, 18%, $2.61 ROI. Give me a shot here with King of Dragons, who I think is going to be a decent price, probably somewhere in the 4-1, 9-2 range, who should get a relatively good trip, quite a bit of pace signed on here as well. We saw King of Dragons come from the back, but also has enough tactical speed to be forward early if needed. Number 2, King of Dragons, Santa Anita, race number 10, my second best bet for Saturday.
Pretty good horse here. There, pretty good effort, I should have said last time out. I'm with you on that. At first time in the Urton barn looked very good. Another race that it's kind of a mess. There are some horses in here that aren't very good. And that I think, look, I like this one. I would be shocked if I don't have this one on top as well.
Yeah, see, this is it's interesting. You pick horses you'd they're definitely going to win. And I'm I want prices I think have a legit shot at trying to get to the winner's circle. This is just a different style of handicapping.
I don't know that this one's going to be, I think your first one might be 5, 6, 8-1. This one kind of feels like 3-1 to me. Don't you think? I mean,
maybe. I thought Cali Cat, Pass the Baton, both going to get bet. One Smoking Dude feels like he takes some money. I don't know. I mean, Frank Bullitt also beat this horse. I'm just hoping that we get that 4-1, 9-2 range. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll have to see what happens.
You could. It's not. I mean, this is a mess of a race, so you definitely could.
I like mess of races. It means you get paid if you're right. I like to be paid when I'm right. That's part of the fun of horse racing. All right, that's going to do us for us here at VSiN at the Track. Thank you very much for joining us. Again, if you're looking for some podcast form, Apple, Spotify, rate, review, subscribe. 5 stars only. Don't give us 3 stars. I'll be angry at you. Make sure you help us get out to more ears there. If you're looking for us over on YouTube, at VSiN at the Track, our own channel there. Make sure you subscribe there so you get notified every time a new video pops up from Aaron or I on that channel. We'll be back every Thursday here as we head toward the Triple Crown, talk about the prep races, talk about everything that happened the week before, which often can be more valuable than talking about the prep races because you're going to get little bits of who we liked out of races, who was the underrated horse in those spots, so that you can stable up horses and possibly get prices home as we go through the preps. It's not just about making money on the Derby. It's about making money on the preps leading up to that point as well, and finding those sprinters who are going to be good later in the year. So make sure you stick with us here at VSiN at the Track. For Aaron Halterman, for Matt Deutsch, our super producer, for me, Mike Somich, thank you very much for joining us, and good luck this weekend at the track.